but many couriers are now smuggling drugs by swallowing them or otherwise concealing them internally. So body searches, urine tests and X-rays have become commonplace.
Drug smuggling knows no barriers of race, colour, class or creed. We do target flights. It would be very foolish of me to pretend that we do not target flights. We look at the risks posed by those flights, and it's not just black flights that we target. We target flights from source countries, we target flights from conduit countries.
She explained to me that it is drugs, you know, cocaine, and that because I have a baby, no one will suspect me, and that I could go, and she was going to offer me for, £1,000, you know, for 200 grams.
In this prison, 50% of the women are Nigerians convicted of drug trafficking.
I came to prison 89, and I was charged for 2 kilos of heroin, and I got 8 years for it. The bag was given me by a friend, you know, that I should, with a full stop on it, you know, that I should give it to somebody here when I was coming to London.
Has anyone given you anything for anybody in this country? No presents, no parcels, no nothing at all?
When they caught me with the drug, you know, they gave me a solicitor, you know, and I told the solicitor that I don't know anything about the drug, you know, that is in the suitcase.
Did you know what would happen if the drugs were found?
Well, initially I expressed my fear, you know, because I said, well, I don't know, because I know how serious the Nigerian government, you know, announced on the radio, on the television and everything. But the lady assured me that there wouldn't be any problem, you know. And even when I told her that, what if I'm caught? She said, well, they may put you on the next available plane back to Nigeria. You see, she never told me anything about prison. She never even told me I would be arrested in the first place. I thought, you know, it was just as easy as she told me.
This woman was a family friend. She normally travels to London. When I lost my husband, she came around and said if I would want to go with her. And she said it will make a big difference since I am in this type of stress after my husband's death. And when we got there, I was so excited. Then when I got to the immigration, they started questioning me. Have you been here before? I said, no. Do you come with who? I said, with a friend. What do you have in the bag? I said, it's my friend's stuff. She gave it to me to hold. So they said, you don't know what is in it? I said, no. What is your friend? Then I turned around. I didn't see her. I said, she was here in the queue. Then, after some time, they said, we are going to look into the bag.
That's it. Right.
So they forced it open. And I brought this parcel wrapped with something like brown paper or cement paper or something. They opened it. There was a green stuff grinded like in powder. So they said, what is it? I said, I don't know. I don't know what it is. They said, so they came, there were about many of them, they came about 4 or 5.
The other one started about there. No, a wooden cup there. There? Oh, hang on, you can take them all both out from, you're not going to take them in the middle? No, in that case you want about there then. About there? Yeah. How was that for a rat?
They said there's cannabis. In my whole life, I've never had anything like cannabis.
If they've actually been found in possession of drugs, then there is no option but for them to actually plead guilty to the offence. And then what happens is that we have a very clearly laid down guideline for the courts as to how they sentence in these cases. And so you're talking about automatic imprisonment, and you're talking about imprisonment usually for quite a serious number of years. The more potent the drug, the longer they will serve in prison.
I couldn't see how I should plead guilty when I didn't know what it was. Even some inmates were saying they pleaded guilty. I said it could be all right if I really knew what I was doing. There's nothing will ever stop me from pleading guilty, but I'll not plead guilty when I don't know.
So the solicitor told me that, well, since I came to London, and they found something like that in my bag, that I have to go guilty, I said, well, but this thing is not, the suitcase doesn't belong to me. Why should I go guilty for something I don't know about? He said, no, you have to go guilty, and tell them that, well, it's the law that if you come to Britain with anything, if they find it on you, you have to go guilty.
Of course, it's one of our principles of law that ignorance is never a defence to crime. But what is more difficult is about the issue of intent. Did somebody really intend to do what they are charged with? And sometimes, of course, the women who are used in these crimes actually are duped. They are taken a loan of. I mean, we were prepared to believe it in cases where other people are used, but perhaps there's an unwillingness to believe it when it's in the drugs context.
They gave me 8 years. I started crying in court, being that my solicitor told me that I can't get anything less than 2-3 years, or if it's too much, 3.5 years. That I didn't expect I would get up to, 8 years.
So I came to realize that the woman really used me, and there was no how God was going to work miracle for the judge to understand what really happened. And it was only my God and myself that knew what happened.
Hello, it's Olga Heaven.
Olga Heaven is the director of an organization called Hibiscus. With offices in London and Lagos, she often provides the only link between the prisoners in England and their families back home. The convicted women here are known within the system as foreign national deportees, and as such, they have fewer rights than British prisoners convicted of the same offence. They serve their sentences in full, in closed prisons, and within hours of their release, they are deported.
I begin to focus on Nigerian women because they are the larger proportion of foreign nationals in prison at the moment. My aim was to ensure they get some kind of equal treatment in this country. The whole thing about the trial situation where the lack of proper representations in court, the situation where they have no social services department to help them out with their children back there, the fact that they don't want their family to know about the imprisonment, and all this together is difficult for them to accept, that they're now faced with this situation where their hands literally tied behind their backs with absolutely no kind of responsibility whatsoever towards their families.
This parole system as well for the deportees. At least second parole, person like me, since I've been in prison, I've not had visits because my family doesn't live here.
That's right.
Okay, I even told them I left my son when he was 6. He'll be 10 this year now. There's no access. I can't even write to him.
Who's keeping him?
It's with the dad. The dad is looking after him. But still, I don't hear from him often, so I don't know what is happening. When they came to interview me about my parole, my second parole, and I explained all these things to them, that this is my first offense. I've never been in prison before. I've never had any contact with the police before. I don't even know how the police station looks like till I came to England.
Things are gradually changing. Wait until you remember, you will see. It will change. This was the opportunity that you had to do something about it, and you just won't talk. This thing's killing me, right? And I come in here and I do, what can I do? It's down to you.
We're actually creating a real problem for ourselves in our own prisons, because the women who are serving the longest sentences, for the most part, are these women who are on these drugs convictions. They feel a great sense of grievance because their punishment is so much greater than that of any of the women who are British indigenous women. Because, of course, they haven't got their families visiting. They don't get to see their children. They don't get home visits. They don't get parole. They miss out on so many of the things that at least can somehow reduce the horror of imprisonment and loss of liberty. They're serving their sentence a long way away from home. And so they're actually in exile as well as in a prison. And so the punishment is actually twice as great.
That was after the list was sent to you in London, and so you've got an extra 4 that want to see you.
Okay, wait, you put next? She's not coming?
No, that's one of the ones we mentioned that is likely to be going. We were asked to see if it was possible to set up a network in Nigeria to give us some information about the backgrounds of the people who were actually appearing in court and who were in prison. Basically, the most important thing was to get home circumstance reports so that they would have the opportunity for parole, or at least the parole board would know as much about the foreign nationals as they did about British nationals.
Most of us who were in prison then were first offenders who did not know the impact of drug trafficking in foreign lands, you know, and most of us were desperate, you know, one way or the other to, you know, solve our financial difficulties.
Now, we've written out to Nigeria, and the 2 social workers in the Lagos office have had difficulty in finding exactly where the village is, where your parents are.
But I saw you last time.
Yeah, I know, but unfortunately, either we misspelled the name of the village, but they're having difficulty finding it.
Are these people of your country, are they going to be treating us as they are treating your children too?
Yep.
They say we are not entitled for anything. Even from home leave, we are not entitled for it.
Right, let's be honest and tell you exactly what the situation is. As far as going to open prison is concerned and getting home leave is concerned, at the present moment the answer is 40/40s no. You can't have home leave and you can't go to open conditions.
I've been here for almost 2.5 years now. I've been in the closing prison. So I need a fresh air, you know. We are a human being, we are not a dog.
The drug barons are constantly looking for new couriers. Elizabeth, with no husband and 3 children to support, was an obvious target.
Then she invited me a day before I left Nigeria, right? So she did an example to swallow some, and then there's a man, yeah, she said we could be going together. Then it swallowed a lot anyway. So through this, I didn't think there'd be anything harmful in it.
And how much did they offer you?
Just £400.
Did you know what it was?
No, I didn't. Not until when I got to London, through the customs.
What did you think it was?
I don't even ask anyway. So not until when I got there.
Did you know that it was drugs?
No.
Why did you think you had to swallow it?
Well, according to their attitude and the way they even swallowed it, so I don't think it's something serious, right? Just to be an helper to them. So I don't think so deep about it anyway. I was arrested and I was being taken inside the customs section. He said they think I've got some packages in me. He said there are some Nigerians who swallowed drugs to this country. Then they did the X-ray.
If you look all around here, these are all the packages which are in tied up condoms actually, and these all condoms contained a lot of cocaine. There are about 3 to 4 grams of cocaine in each package. There is always a danger that one of these packages could burst and erode inside, and some of them have lasted 14 and 15 days to produce them.
You know, to take me 6 days to pass just 69 packages. Then when it was being out, they took everything to the laboratory.
They go into this flue over here, and they go and pass their feces along with whatever else they have swallowed. This system will then contain all the feces as well as all the condoms into it. And there's a facility here that we switch on the water, and there's a probe here. With this probe here, we can wash the feces and try to separate the feces, and they will secure the packages. These are the condoms containing cocaine produced from a female courier. One of the condoms had bursted. Now it's eroded. That means the cocaine has gone into the blood system, which becomes extremely dangerous. Also, they endanger their lives this way. We haven't, thank God for it, anyone who has died in our custody, but I'm aware of a number of drug smugglers who have died.
Most of the couriers are expendable, and the barons put as many as 10 onto one flight, calculating that even if half are arrested, they still make a profit. The drug Elizabeth carried was only 5% pure. The man travelling with her almost certainly carried the high-quality drugs and used her as his decoy.
What happened to the man?
They checked for the man. They saw his name on the manifest, but he has checked out. We couldn't locate him because there is none of his address with me or phone number. So there's no way to locate him inside the country. So I was just facing the problem alone. So this made me to feel to hate myself that time. What is really happening, which I never planned for in my life.
Coming in and going out.
Isaac and Simeon are Olga's social workers in Lagos working with prisoners' families. Accurate information about these families isn't easy to come by, as many of the women don't even want their relatives to know they're in prison.
The most important thing is to try and calm down, to ease up on the isolation that they suffer. And I think that's the only way we can do it is by setting up the base here for them. And also to begin to try and educate a lot of the Nigerian community about what imprisonment is all about, because we've got a very strong stigma about prison on the whole. And because of that, the women tend to suffer twice as hard. Sometimes I would hear the news of deaths in the family, and they don't want the mother to know. And it's difficult for me to face her when I get back and not tell her. Does his mother know that her mother is dead?
No, she doesn't know. Because
this boy's mother is in prison in Britain. Her mother died 3 days ago.
I believe it will shatter her.
Don't you want your mother to know?
Yes.
You do want her to know?
No, I don't want her to know.
Why?
Because when a sister will tell us, okay, she replied that if her mother died, she won't come to Nigeria again.
She wouldn't come back to Nigeria?
Yes.
But surely she don't mean that.
She means it. She means that she won't come to Nigeria again if her mother died.
But don't you think I should tell her that you know that her mother is dead? I mean,
no, I don't want you to tell her.
How do you feel? How do you feel about it now? What's happening with you?
I'm not feeling happy at all when her mother died, because she's the one that's taking care of me. Since that she has died now, it's the landlord's wife that taking care of me, giving me food. Sometimes if I want to go to school, I didn't have money, I usually come to this man and she give me some money.
To Mr. Isaac?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter how we look at it, she's going to be deported back to this country anyway. So it's a situation where I think it could help.
And my uncle said that she can poison herself if she heard that
she'll kill herself if she heard her mother is dead.
Yes.
Yeah, my mother died while I was in prison, and all my properties, since my husband was no more alive, my mother was the only person that was taking care of the family, and she died and everything gone. You know, that was enough shame that my mother died. I couldn't see her face and I couldn't touch her. I couldn't use my hand to say, oh, look at my mother dying, clean your face and do all these things. So they carried her away, and maybe they thought I was careless, I didn't take care of her. So they took all her belongings, leaving the empty house in a shattered form. Then it was enough shame.
I like to go to boarding school because they'll help me.
What is the rough cost of it?
200 to 300
a year.
A year.
It's quite clear that ease distress. But can we take that responsibility?
I think we have to sift out needs. Some will be greater than others. But his now, to me, appears to be the greatest at the moment.
Right.
For any mother, imprisonment means separation from her children. But these families are thousands of miles apart.
In their letters, when they were writing me, then they would ask me, "Mommy, come back home. We want to see you." "Oh, Mommy, come back home. We are not going to school again." "Oh, Mommy, come back home. Grandma is very ill. She's in the hospital," and so many things like that, you see. They really missed me. So when I came back, they were very happy to see me.
I was missing my kids, because my mother is very old, my dad is very old, and I'm the eldest in the family. I was the person taking care of the whole family, and this type of thing happened to me. There's nobody to take care of the kids apart from me. That's why I was so depressed, because I didn't know something like this would happen to me. They used to go to my mom and say, "What happened? If our mother is dead, you should tell us." I said, "No, I can't handle it anymore. I have to write them and tell them, that I'm in prison." I thought, about taking my life. I attempted suicide, in Holloway.
I was taken to the court with my baby, and it was at the court, that was Oxford Magistrate Court. It was at the court she was taken away from me to the foster home.
How did you feel?
Well, I felt really bad because what they told me was that she would be with a childminder while I go upstairs to meet the magistrate. And when I came back, I asked for my baby, and I was told she'd been taken away. I felt really bad. I think I should have been told the truth. Eventually, just after 2 weeks, she reunited with me. Babies are only allowed to stay in Holloway prison for 9 months, and then after 9 months, I'll have to decide if I want to send her back to Nigeria or she goes into foster care. I was very depressed. I just couldn't think of what to do, with myself, because I thought of my other kids, who did not know exactly what was going on with me, and coupled with the fact that very soon my baby will be taken away from me. So I was in a state of complete dejection, and very, very sad, very, very sad, very sad.
I've actually known of a situation where a woman hadn't seen her children for 6 years. They came into the country. One was 3 years old, 4 years old, and she was actually carrying the second child. They then left the country. 6 years later, they were reunited at Heathrow Airport to fly back to Lagos, back to a country that they don't even recognise. The eldest child was almost immediately put out on the streets hawking to raise some money. The boy was the butt of all the jokes and pranks of the more experienced Nigerian boys because he had no idea how to street hawk. And then eventually he was knocked down and killed because he was inexperienced in jumping in and out of the traffic.
Olga Heaven has just located the family of another inmate in her care.
What about your children?
With my mom in Nigeria, because when they sentence me, I don't want them to be with the foster, so I have to send them home to my mom. I know now she will look 80 years old. It really affected my mom.
Olga wants to involve Henrietta's family in an appeal.
I am Olga Heaven, yes, and I've been working with your daughter for quite some time, maybe 4 years now. And we're at a point where we might be able to get her appeal heard. But there's a lot of things in her case that we need to go through, yeah?
When this case came up in court, my sister, everybody in the family felt so disgraced, felt so humiliated, and we felt it should be fought with all the resources that's available at her command. In fact, my sister sold almost everything she had to pay for the lawyer, hoping that she would get justice.
You know, when all this happened, because Henrietta told me that the family doesn't want to talk to her, I think especially you want nothing to do with her.
Whatever my annoyance in the past, I know Henrietta was not guilty. The only thing that worried me is how did that man ever come her way?
I was told that somebody is bringing in drug, and the man said he was delivering the drug to my flat. He had my address with him when he was interrogated at the airport, or maybe my telephone number, I don't know, because I never answered, because the custom told me that he described my place to them, that he was bringing the drug over to my flat, because I gave him the bag to help me as excess luggage. They said they found his clothes in the bag, they find the drug, and they find other items, foodstuffs inside the bag he was carrying, inside the bag where the drug was found.
What sort of drug was it?
Heroin.
And what are you going to do while you're here?
Just for my kids.
Shopping?
Yeah.
Acting on information supplied by the courier already in their custody, customs officers went to Henrietta's flat, where they found some money, but no drugs.
They went into my room, the Sergio room, they went into the other room, they went into my bathroom, the Sergio, whole house, upside down. And now they are charging me to be an organizer. Whatever evidence they find in the flat, anything to do with drug, they didn't find anything.
Tell me.
What happened? The time when Asama began to market to London to go buy market for me.
So she was actually doing the trading for you?
For London.
Yes.
I get customer for London, Shamash. So many customers I take a rata trad. So I will get money to go London, go buy goods for me.
Immediately after they find that money, they didn't even want to know how that money came about. They didn't even want to know whether it's a genuine money or a money that had been sweated for years. Because my mom had been doing this business not today, not yesterday. It has taken us years to accumulate that money. So suddenly the custom from nowhere, they find that money. They've cashed their big deal, their big dealer. Even big dealer, they went to my account, they went to the bank. They found out that for years my mom had been doing this business. Most of the time we bought our money in bank drafts, we bought our money in checks. They didn't even pipe any bulk money in their accounts. So where the organizing drug have been, where I put the money, I don't even know. I sent my solicitor to Nigeria. My solicitor should be a witness. They gave that solicitor to me as a duty solicitor. If I have anything to hide in Nigeria, I will not even say the man should go home. But this man I told the man, please go home. You will see my mother's shop and see the type of goods we have there. If it's somebody who is dealing on drug, or maybe they are trying to pay me to be organizer, you will be able to tell them in court for me. That's the main reason why I pleaded with my mom. If it means our last penny, she should pay for the case. Let me clear my name before they give me the time.
When the solicitor came here, did you make him see your family story? Did he see what was happening in your house? What happened?
He stayed for quite a few days, and we took him home. We let him see the situation of things.
Right.
See the kids. Even at then, we had a lot of problems. So the house is empty. You know, that sort of thing. So he saw everything, and we thought he was likely to put forward the case. As he saw it, I mean, there's nothing missed.
He didn't even tell my barrister what he saw in Nigeria. Nothing was said in court. Nothing was said in court. Then the last minute the judge knew we paid for this case, and my mom got that money to pay, and how they gathered up to pay for that money, they didn't know. Automatically my charge was changed from legally consigned to organizer. What I supposed to have organized, I didn't even know.
We have to, as lawyers, bear in mind that there are special needs for a foreigner on trial in a foreign country, and we have to give that energy to those defendants. And I think that perhaps too often that's forgotten. There are many lawyers who fight these cases well and hard, but of course there are also lawyers who don't give enough time to them. And I think that we have to be very anxious to make sure that people who are standing trial, who are not part of our British population, are given as much of a crack at justice as anybody else.
I got 12 years. I did my 50th year now. I don't know. I can't explain it to myself up to today, what I'm supposed to have organized and what I'm doing the time for. Nobody told me up to now.
How does it happen in British law court that a person could be convicted on a mere
evidence of co-defendant.
Right,
yes.
It sounds very strange.
Yes, I feel quite convinced that she is innocent, you know, because as you know, her co-defendant, he got 7 years, I think he's already released.
In fact, the judge sentenced me first and sent me out before he gave the boy the sentence. And I was told later, that he made a remark that because the boy helped the custom, he has to give him a lighter sentence. And I was later told by my brother that they saw him in Nigeria. And I told them not to do anything because I don't want them to go and be charged for murder because they were still bitter about the sentence. I'm not the guilty one and I'm still here. Why is now in Nigeria enjoying himself?
I thought, well, I'll go home and wait for him. I mean, come out first. I think I'll deal with him myself personally in my own way. I mean, I feel like killing him.
Right.
So in fact, I thought I was sure certain I'll kill him if I see him. So well, I decided I'll get to know his place, and I found out where he lived and everything. And then later on, you know, time heals every pain. And
I lost everything I've ever worked for in my life. I don't even want to talk about this bit. I don't know if we can stop it now because I'm really getting upset now.
Well, I have satisfied myself that she had not committed that offense. So if she comes back, we'll do our best
to support. Yes, yeah, that's good.
And that's the only reason why I will support, because I have convinced myself that that she was never involved in that.
That's good.
Yes,
that's good.
A member being involved in what society frowns against, the shame goes to the other members of the family, and therefore the stigma. And therefore no family unit would want to have their member associated with drug trafficking, and that's the stigma that goes with it.
You soil that name, there's nothing you can do that can erase it. You can't be bold first in the society. Even if you are a businessman, you'll be feeling very shy and can't be bold, you know, talking to people, because it's so bad when they say you are in prison, whether for what you did or anything mistake.
We believe that in our own cultural setting, stigmatization is a factor that would discourage people from engaging in it. And that's why our government, through the NDLEA, went to the extent of asking foreign countries or foreign governments that have convicted Nigerians in their prison to send their photographs to us. Because to us here, the idea that a photograph of a family member is on the papers among those criminals is traumatic enough to discourage people from engaging in this kind of nefarious illegal drug trafficking.
Increasing the stigma may deter some couriers, but it doesn't deter the drug barons. With the legal economy more or less bankrupt, it's hardly surprising that the illegal trade continues.
Sadly, despite very great efforts by ourselves and the Nigerian authorities, both together and independently, I have to say that there is still a risk that people from Nigeria, travellers from Nigeria, do still pose a threat to us.
Was there any other way that you could have made some money?
Well, that is a true buying and selling, you know. Like, I was doing this buying and selling before. In fact, it's this threat and ejection letter I got from my landlord, you know, that actually made me go into this sort of thing, you know. If he allowed me to be paying, you know, monthly as I was doing, I don't think anything would tempt me into doing this thing at all.
Nigeria has decreed that any citizen imprisoned abroad will be liable to a further 5-year sentence at home for bringing shame and dishonor on their nation.
Lawyers in this country are very concerned about the whole issue of double jeopardy for people who are involved in trafficking. Because on the one hand, here we are sentencing people and sentencing people heavily for drug importation. And now people are actually returning to their home country and being punished again.
So for this reason, I don't want to be identified, you know. Just my main reason, to protect my identity. That's it. I'm, you know, very much worried and afraid I may be arrested and sent back into jail. When I go back to the country and my passport and the papers were handed over to the immigration department, you know. So I was called into the office and I was interrogated, and I stated my case, the offenses and everything, and I was asked, what do I want to do now? So I said, all I want to do is to get back to my children and my family, because I've been away for so long. I've been in prison, and they said they've read everything about it in the paper. So I begged that they should please save me the trouble of going back to jail, you know, if I am arrested again here. So they wanted some money, which I was able to give to them after a week, you know, before my passport was given back to me.
It really ruined my life, but I feel with God that He will send someone, Messiah, to help us out. Because now I know I am getting over it, but not quite. The only thing we need now is the money to establish something doing. And the moment it is like that, I know I can live on my own, feed myself, take care of my family, have a house, because where we are living is a rented house, and they have been pushing us from here to there, and it has not been easy to get a place.
On release and deportation, the long-nurtured relationship with Olga can facilitate the family reunion.
When I was arrested, I refused not to give them the address until I met Olga Heaven of, then it was Women in Prison. And then I told her exactly my story. And then I told her that I would love my sister and my mom to write me. But I don't know how my mom will handle it if she hears about it. And then she asked me if it will be okay for her to write them or phone them. Then I said, all right, she could write, and she did write them, and they replied. And she got the letter, and then sent the letter to prison for me, and then advised me to tell them. I said, all right.
She was sentenced 5.5 years ago. He's due to go home next week. And that's what she looked like when I saw her first. And I think for her, time has stood still. She still, when I speak to her now, never relate to anything from 5 years ago. She's always going back. And I think it's one way of not accepting the length of sentence she had.
I have 4 children, and they are lovely. They are lovely kids anyway, but I do really miss them because I cannot see them.
Christy was released from Style Prison on August the 3rd this year. By nightfall, she was in Lagos.
Her husband has left her. The kids are with her mother, her elderly mother, and with the help of her junior sister. But she is one who is a little bit of luckier than a lot who's coming through, because at least she had a family back up there. The majority hasn't got that.
The following day, she learned that her firstborn child had died 3 years ago.
Since I came back home, it's been very, very difficult. Like, just have to start all over again, you know. I've lost my home. I don't have a house. I don't have a roof on my head now. You know, managing with my old mom in her one-room apartment, and nobody's ready to help. You see, everybody's ready to help. And for some of them who got to know of what happened, they have been very, very, you know, careful and withdrawn from me, sort of. So because of this, I sort of keep to myself all the time. I don't go to see any of them. I stayed in the house, you know, and when I need to go out, I go out very late in the night.
What about your husband?
He wasn't ready to accept any explanation, you know. I gave him, he was very, very annoyed and still bitter. So I'm still trying to plead, you know, get the family to beg him, and probably he will. And I'm just back a month now, so probably with time he would forgive and accept me back. I don't know.
Do you still love him?
Yes.
This is not a welfare state. This is a state if you cannot prostitute yourself, if you cannot smuggle drugs, if you haven't got family to help you, you have to find a way to survive. And I feel that at the moment, the whole thing around drug couriering is coming through Nigeria. It will eventually move along as the custom and exiles are getting, you know, exactly where it's coming from. So go on to somewhere else. Another poor country is facing the same economy problem.
The most unsatisfactory aspect of all of this, of course, is that it takes us no closer to getting to the people behind the scenes, to the drug barons, the people who are actually manipulating and exploiting these women.
You come through the Green Channel today. Have you anything to declare to customs at all? Right, okay. Has anybody given you anything from Nigeria to bring to this country at all? Nothing at all? Nothing. You packed all the bags yourself? Yes. So you know what's inside the bags? Yes. Okay, right.
Very many of these women who would like to be able to talk and to be able to say who was responsible for their being here can't point the finger. They still have children back in their home countries. They still have families, and they're almost hostages, so that they know that they can never tell, because to do so means that others are going to suffer.
Well, she obviously told a lie about the money in the baggage.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing on the search of persons, then I suspect that she might have something inside her. She's also got a type of gel that you use for, that can be used for lubricating packages. So,
what do you propose?
Well, I suspect that she might well be involved with something. If there's nothing on the person, she's just emerged now, then I'm going to arrest her on suspicion of having packages concealed internally, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I suspect, right, that you may have packages of drugs inside your body, okay? And because of that, I'm arresting you now at 11:35 on suspicion that you have drugs concealed inside your body. You don't have to answer any questions unless you want to, but what you say may be given in evidence. Do you understand what I've just said to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another customs officer will come and tell you what your legal rights are as an arrested person in this country. But what will follow from that is that we will need to be satisfied that you have no drugs in your body. And in order to do that, one of the things that we can be guided by is we can be guided by a urine test. Okay, where
Everything.
And that will give us some indication. So if you're happy with that, yes? But you're under arrest at the moment, okay? So if you just bring your baggage, we'll go and see the other officer, the other customs officer, and he will tell you what your legal rights are as an arrested person.
I think I can carry this.
Okay.
In this case, the test was negative, and the woman was released from custody.